Millionaire dad took his son in a wheelchair on a blind date. Only one girl brought him a flower first. Under the soft canopy of early afternoon light, a lakeside cafe buzzed quietly with clinks of cutlery and distant conversation. At a windowside table, however, silence lingered. Daniel stirred his coffee without drinking, eyes clouded. Across from him sat his 5-year-old son, Caleb, in a small wheelchair, legs unmoving, hands resting in his lap. "They do not like me, Daddy," Caleb said quietly. Daniel blinked, pulled from his thoughts. He tried to smile. "That's not true, buddy. They just didn't really see you." Caleb tilted his head, wise beyond his years. "They looked at my chair before they looked at me." Daniel inhaled sharply. There was no arguing with that. The third woman this month had walked in, barely glanced at Caleb, then spent the rest of the date on polite conversation, eyes flicking to her phone. She asked about Daniel's job. She never asked Caleb about his favorite color, or what made him laugh. Daniel didn't fully blame her. But Caleb noticed. He always noticed. "Daddy," Caleb said again, "you don't have to keep doing this for me." Daniel managed a small smile. "I'm not doing it just for you. I need to believe someone out there can still see us. Really see us." There had been a time when laughter filled their house, when Daniel's life was sharp suits and polished cars. That ended with a crash on a rainy road, the night his wife died and Caleb's world went still. The accident spared Daniel's body, but grief hollowed him out. Only Caleb's laughter could sometimes fill the space she left behind. A week after Caleb's 5th birthday, the boy asked their nanny, "How can I help Daddy smile again?" Not long after, with her help, he created a dating profile. No name, no job title, just a few simple lines. "Looking for someone who doesn't mind a quiet man and a little boy who can't run, but can make your heart fly." Daniel had laughed when he read it, then cried, then agreed. He arrived to each date not as a CEO, but in jeans and a worn t-shirt, sneakers streaked with green paint from Caleb's dinosaur art. The only clue to his past life was a scratched silver watch, his wife's final gift. He drove a borrowed sedan, dented and smelling faintly of old peppermint. He wanted truth, not pretense. Caleb now sat picking at his napkin. "Maybe we stop trying," he said, eyes downcast. Daniel reached over, placing a steady hand atop his. "We try until it feels right. Not perfect, just real." Caleb didn't answer at first. Then, looking up with clear, knowing eyes, he asked, "Do you think Mommy would want you to be alone forever?" Daniel looked away, throat tight. Outside, the lake shimmered. He thought of his wife's laughter, her dance with Caleb in the kitchen. Her words whispered once. "One day Daddy will need someone who sees you the way I do." He hadn't remembered that in years. Until now. "No," he said softly. "I don't think she would." The cafe door chimed. Daniel barely noticed. But Caleb did. And everything was about to change. The cafe door chimed again, gentle and almost hesitant, as if announcing something different this time. Caleb was the first to glance up from his half-eaten pancake, his eyes instantly widening. A young woman stepped in. Her golden blonde hair loose over her shoulders, dressed in a light linen cardigan over a pale blue dress. She wasn't flashy, not in the way she moved or looked around. She wasn't wearing makeup that screamed for attention or heels that echoed like declarations. And yet in her right hand she held something radiant. A single bright Gerbera daisy, the color of warm sunlight. She scanned the cafe quickly, not in search of someone impressive, but with quiet intent. Her eyes met Caleb's first, not Daniel's, not the man at the table, and her face lit up in a soft, knowing smile. She walked toward them, not rushed, not dramatic. As she reached the table, she knelt beside Caleb's wheelchair without hesitation, meeting his eye level. Her voice, when it came, was gentle and sincere. "For the strongest boy in the room," she said, holding out the flower to Caleb. "I thought you might need something cheerful today." Caleb looked at the flower, at her face, then back again. He hesitated, his small fingers hovering uncertainly, but she waited with patience. Slowly, he reached out and took the daisy, gripping it with a slight tremble in his hand. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice caught between wonder and disbelief. Daniel hadn't moved. He was still sitting back in his chair, watching with quiet surprise. This wasn't how most meetings began. Women usually greeted him first, assessing him, then turned to Caleb with polite discomfort or calculated sweetness. They noticed the wheelchair, hesitated, or overcompensated. But this woman, this Maya, hadn't even looked at him yet. Only after placing the flower into Caleb's lap, she rose and turned to Daniel with a small smile. "Hi, I'm Maya. I saw the post." Daniel stood, nodding, extending a hand. "Daniel, and this is my son, Caleb." Maya's smile deepened as she looked at Caleb again. "Cool shoes, Caleb. I hope you like chocolate muffins. I was this close to buying the whole tray." Caleb giggled, glancing shyly up at his dad. "Please sit," Daniel offered, gesturing to the empty seat. "Can I get you something?" "I already ordered tea," she said, taking her seat with calm grace. "But thank you." When the waitress brought her drink, Maya thanked her sincerely and turned right back to Caleb, her focus never straying. She didn't ask Daniel what he did for a living. She didn't comment on his worn sneakers or the scratched luxury watch on his wrist. She just leaned in slightly and asked Caleb, "Do your legs ever feel tired, even if they don't move much?" Caleb nodded. "Yeah. It's like they're too heavy." She tilted her head. "That makes sense. I used to work with kids who had the same feeling. Stretching helps. Do you do stretches at home?" Daniel responded, "We've tried some therapy, not very consistently." "No judgment," Maya replied gently. "Even a little bit helps. Kids like Caleb," she paused and looked at him again, "they store a lot of strength in their upper bodies. We just need to make sure their legs don't feel forgotten." Caleb looked fascinated. "I want to be an astronaut, but my rocket might need wheels." Maya laughed, full and unfiltered. "That's the smartest kind of rocket. Wheels are perfect for planets that don't have good landing zones." Daniel watched as his son lit up. Caleb animatedly told Maya about the rocket he drew last night, about planets made of cheese, and how he wanted to fly with his dad beside him. Maya listened, asked questions, made jokes. She didn't speak to Caleb like he was fragile. She spoke to him like he mattered. Daniel felt his shoulders lower. He hadn't realized how tense he'd been. They ordered food, lemonade, chocolate milk, pancakes, and sandwiches. Conversation flowed easier than it had with anyone else. Maya was relaxed, funny, kind. When Caleb asked if she liked dinosaurs, she launched into a story about how she once had a nightmare about being chased by a T-Rex through a supermarket. Then Caleb tried to grab his spoon again, and missed. It clattered to the floor with a sharp sound. He froze, tried to lean forward, strained down to grab it, his small arms pushing against the wheelchair. Daniel started to move, but Maya was faster. She stood quickly, knelt beside Caleb, picked up the spoon, and placed it gently on a napkin. She rested her hand gently on his back and said softly, "No worries. Strong boys always get second tries." Caleb looked up at her, his eyes wide, his lips parted like he'd just heard something magical. Daniel watched her, really watched her, and for the first time in years, something opened in his chest. This woman hadn't come to be impressed. She came to be present. She sat back down as if nothing had happened. But for Daniel, and for Caleb, everything had. As the last crumbs of pancake disappeared, and Caleb's chocolate milk reached its bottom, Maya glanced at the clock on the cafe wall. She dabbed the corner of her lips with a napkin and looked at Daniel with a warm, grateful smile. "I should get going," she said softly, then stood and reached into her small fabric bag. "Let me help with the check." Daniel lifted a hand, palm outward, and smiled, in a way that was both firm and kind. "My son insisted," he said. "His treat." Maya paused, her eyes flicking to Caleb, who was busy drawing circles in the condensation on his glass. "Well," she said with a grin, "your son has excellent manners." She did not push it. Instead, she stepped away from the table and made her way to the counter. Daniel watched her with quiet curiosity. She spoke briefly to the server, exchanged a few soft words, and then returned holding a small paper bag with a tiny white sticker sealing it closed. "For rocket fuel later," she said, handing the bag to Caleb with a wink. Caleb held it like treasure, his fingers tightening on the warm paper. "Thank you, Miss Maya," he said, his voice hushed with delight. Maya knelt beside him one more time, brushing a bit of pancake syrup off his sleeve. "You keep dreaming, okay? Jetpacks, rockets. Do not let anybody tell you what your flight should look like." Daniel rose as well, walking her to the door. The sun was beginning to soften outside. The afternoon light stretched across the cobbled sidewalk like melted gold. He opened the door for her, and she stepped through with that same calm ease she had walked in with. "Can I give you a ride?" he asked. She turned back, shaking her head with a small smile. "I walk to think," she said simply, "and it is a good day for walking." Daniel hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I am sure." She reached out, touched his forearm gently, just for a second. "Thank you for lunch, for the conversation, and for letting me meet Caleb," Daniel said quietly. "I could tell." She glanced at Caleb, waved one last time, then began walking down the sidewalk, flowerless now, her steps unhurried. Daniel watched her go, the echo of her presence still lingering, like the scent of tea and fresh daisies. Caleb turned in his chair to follow her movement, then looked up at his father. "She walks like she is not in a rush." Daniel nodded. Not many people do that anymore. He buckled Caleb into the back seat of their borrowed car, carefully securing the wheelchair in its locked position, then climbed into the driver's seat. But instead of starting the engine and driving off, he waited. Maya's figure grew smaller in the distance, her silhouette framed by the late afternoon sun. She turned a corner. Daniel started the engine, shifted into gear, and followed, slowly, at a respectful distance. Not stalking, not even checking, just ensuring. She walked past a grocery store, waved to someone she knew at the flower stand, then turned down a side street lined with small apartment buildings. Daniel watched as she paused in front of a narrow gate with rusting hinges. She reached into her bag, pulled out a key, and unlocked it. The porch light was off. No welcome mat, no potted plants, just a thin metal door and a mailbox with peeling numbers. She glanced once behind her, did she sense the car, but did not stop. She stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind her. Daniel sat for a moment, engine idling, eyes fixed on the now quiet building. Caleb broke the silence. "Are we going home?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Yeah, we are." He turned the car around and pulled back onto the road, but his mind stayed behind, in the quiet street, in the way she had smiled at Caleb like he was the center of the world, in the way she had asked nothing of him, only listened, only cared. And he wondered, not for the first time, how someone so ordinary could leave behind a silence that felt extraordinary. Maya pushed open the door to her small apartment and stepped inside, letting it close quietly behind her. The lock clicked in the silence. No lights were on, just the faint glow of a street lamp outside, casting soft stripes across the worn rug and the old couch she had bought from a church sale 2 years ago. She set her bag down and slipped off her shoes. The air inside held a faint trace of cinnamon, a leftover scent from a candle she could no longer afford to burn. Tonight the apartment was cool, dim, and still. In her hand, the daisy still looked fresh, stubbornly bright. She walked to the kitchenette, found a chipped glass, filled it with water, and placed the flower gently inside. She set it on the windowsill and watched it sway slightly, uneven but steady. Her gaze shifted to the photo beside her bed. A cracked frame held the image of her and her younger brother Eli. Maya was maybe 12, arms wrapped around the small boy in a wheelchair. Both were smiling at something outside the frame. Eli had been born with severe cerebral palsy. He never walked or talked much, but his laughter filled every room. When their mother died of a stroke, Maya was 11. No relatives stepped in, only a social worker with papers and lists of shelters. Maya had refused to let go of Eli's wheelchair. They stayed together through foster homes, food stamps, long nights, and cold winters. She learned how to lift him, mix his medicine, and make him laugh, even when she was breaking inside. Eli died at 10 during a bad flu season. Maya stayed beside him in the hospital for 3 days, humming lullabies, holding his hand. After he was gone, the silence that followed changed her forever. She could not see herself working in an office. She wanted to be with children, to offer what she had tried to give Eli: comfort, joy, and the sense that they mattered. So she became a preschool teacher. The pay was modest, but each small smile, each brave first step, was worth more than any check. Maya sat down on the edge of her bed, pulling her knees to her chest. The quiet wrapped around her like a familiar coat. But tonight, it felt different. She thought of Caleb, his tiny hand clutching the daisy, the way he talked about rockets. There was a spark in his eyes, gentle but alive. And Daniel, the way he looked at his son, and the way he had looked at her, like maybe something inside him had just started to breathe again. She let out a slow breath. She had not gone to that cafe looking for a date. The post had simply read, "A single father looking for someone to talk to. No photo, no flashy promises. Just words that sounded like her own loneliness." She expected a quiet cup of tea, maybe a hard conversation. She hadn't expected laughter, or warmth, or a boy who reminded her of Eli, but with eyes full of dreams instead of pain. Maya glanced at the daisy again. Some silences, she thought, were meant to be broken, not by noise, but by gentleness, by second tries, by rocket ships with wheels. The message arrived later that evening. Daniel checked his phone while helping Caleb off to bed. Daniel: "Caleb loved the cake. He made me promise to save the frosting for rocket fuel." Maya sat on her couch, legs tucked under, and smiled at the reminder of their afternoon. She typed slowly, choosing each word carefully. Gentle leg stretches? If he'd like, I can show you a few gentle leg stretches I use with my students. They help with circulation and comfort." He responded within moments. "Daniel, we'd really appreciate that. Caleb keeps asking, will she come back? Would you be open to coming by sometime this week?" Maya paused. His words felt open, honest, no expectation, just an invitation. She tapped her reply. "Maya, I'd love to." 2 days later, a small tote swung from her arm as she stepped onto Daniel's porch. Inside were tokens of kindness: a rocket toy crafted from recycled milk cartons, a tin of star-shaped cookies she baked the night before, and a children's book about astronauts who used wheelchairs. Opening the door revealed a modest lived-in home. It didn't scream wealth, just warmth. Caleb appeared in his wheelchair, clutching the slightly wilted daisy she once gave him. "Miss Maya, I saved you a cookie," he announced, holding out the tin. Daniel appeared from behind the couch, in jeans and a navy tee, barefoot and smiling. He crouched at Caleb's level. "We've been counting the hours." Maya laughed and knelt to Caleb's level. "Good thing I brought backups, just in case the first ones didn't survive the ride." They moved into a cozy living area strewn with books and toys. Maya brought out the cardboard rocket and showed Caleb how the wings folded. He marveled, eyes wide. Daniel watched quietly from the side, arms folded loosely, his expression softer than before. Once Caleb was occupied, Maya shifted focus. "Shall we try a few stretches?" she asked Daniel. She guided him through ankle rolls, gentle knee bends, and even showed a warm compress trick, all things she'd used with her students. Daniel followed attentively, phone in hand, to jot down steps. "You have a beautiful home," Maya said softly, after a particularly relaxing stretch. He nodded. "It's quieter than it used to be." Her eyes softened. She pointed to the framed photos on the shelf. "I can feel the love." Later, they carried snacks to the kitchen. She reached for a bowl and noticed a framed article affixed to the fridge with a magnet. Daniel Carter, CEO of Ridgepoint Holdings, named Philanthropist of the Year. Maya paused, surprised. "You didn't tell me." Daniel looked past her, unaffected. "I don't hide it. I try to keep it quiet." Her expression softened. "I'm not angry, really. Besides, I still think Caleb is the real star here." He chuckled, relief flashing in his eyes. "I think so too." Back in the living room, they sat on the rug to make miniature clay cookies. Daniel struggled to shape his, and Caleb burst into laughter. "Daddy, yours look like moon rocks." "They're artisan," Daniel defended with a grin. Maya laughed so hard she dropped the tiny rolling pin, then bent to pick it up, her hair falling forward in gentle waves. As the afternoon light faded and the shadows lengthened, they remained on the rug, surrounded by crayons, clay crumbs, laughter. Maya observed Daniel, the curve of his mouth, the gentle cadence in his voice, the way he leaned toward Caleb. It was a man rediscovering joy. Later, near the low windowsill, Maya helped Caleb stand for a short exercise. Daniel supported him under the arms while she adjusted his feet. As she straightened, her hand brushed Daniel's. They paused, each silently registering the spark. "Daddy touched Ms. Maya." Caleb's voice broke the hush, his laughter filling the room. Maya and Daniel both laughed, but their eyes met and held a brief, intimate moment, an unspoken acknowledgement of growing closeness. As the evening wound down, Maya gathered her things and Caleb looked up at her. "Will you come again?" She knelt to his level, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "Only if there's more rocket fuel." His grin was radiant. "We'll make extra." Daniel opened the door to a dusky evening. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" she asked, footsteps pausing. "For being exactly who you are." Maya looked at him, then at Caleb, and waved. "Good night." She walked away under the street lamp's glow. Daniel watched her leave, and for the first time, the house felt less empty, like it might be filled again. The weeks that followed unfolded like pages in a quiet novel. Daniel and Maya spoke often, sometimes through texts, sometimes late at night on the phone, and often over cups of tea in the kitchen while Caleb colored dinosaurs in the next room. What began as friendly conversation about Caleb's needs gradually turned into something richer, deeper. They spoke of childhoods, memories, and scars. Daniel shared the weight of his grief, the sound of his wife's laugh echoing in their now silent home, the way he sometimes reached for her in sleep, only to remember she was gone. Maya listened with the patience of someone who had known her own loss. She did not offer platitudes. Instead, she shared her own story, her dream of becoming a writer when she was younger, a dream buried under medical bills and funeral costs. "I used to write bedtime stories for Eli," she said once, "all about a knight in a wheelchair who could tame dragons." Daniel smiled. "I think Caleb would love that." Some afternoons, the three of them ventured to the nearby park. Maya packed sandwiches and drew chalk hopscotch boards on the pavement. Caleb, though unable to jump, used a long stick to guide his wheels over the colors, laughing the whole time. Daniel watched as Maya ran beside him, cheering louder than anyone. Other days, they stayed in, building towers from cereal boxes or painting landscapes on old cardboard. Maya taught Caleb to draw his dreams. "If you can imagine it," she said, "you're already halfway there." Caleb once drew a spaceship shaped like a sunflower and called it the Hope Rocket. Daniel started noticing things: how Maya always took her tea with just a splash of milk, how she sang softly when concentrating, how she spoke to Caleb not like a teacher or a caretaker, but like someone who believed in his wholeness, not his limitations. He also noticed the growing thrum in his own chest every time she laughed, or when her hand brushed his as they passed crayons across the table. But he said nothing. Maya too felt the shift, the way Daniel looked at her, not with longing or loneliness, but with gratitude. It scared her, how safe she felt near him, how badly she wanted to stay. Still, neither of them dared speak the words hanging between them. One afternoon, heavy rain surprised them during a backyard activity. They had been helping Caleb with upper body exercises, cheering as he maneuvered between small garden markers. The sky darkened quickly, thunder grumbling like a distant beast. "Storm's coming," Maya called, laughing as the first drops fell. Caleb squealed with joy. Rain rocket launch. But then the rain grew stronger, soaking through their clothes within seconds. Maya darted for the porch, shielding Caleb with her body as Daniel rushed inside for an umbrella. He returned, flinging it open and holding it high over her as they both huddled close, shielding Caleb between them. Their faces were inches apart. Rain trickled from Maya's hair. Daniel's shirt clung to his frame. Their eyes locked. No words, no rush, just the quiet thunder of understanding. Maya swallowed hard, the tension electric between them. A flash of lightning lit up the sky, followed by a low rumble of thunder. From behind the glass door, Caleb pressed his nose to the window, watching them with wide eyes. Then, slowly, he smiled, small and knowing. He did not say a word, but his expression said everything. Later that evening, after hot cocoa and dry clothes, Maya lingered at the door. Daniel held it open, the porch light casting a warm glow over her face. "I should go," she said. "You don't have to," he replied, then immediately added, "I mean, if you want to stay for another story." Caleb would love it. She smiled softly. "Maybe next time." Their hands touched again, just for a second, long enough to make her heart ache in the best way. Inside, Caleb looked at the window once more and whispered to himself, "They're almost there." He was right, they were. The photo spread was everywhere by morning. Mighty millionaire dating press screen teacher with disabled child. Fairy tale or facade, the headline screamed, splashed across a glossy gossip magazine cover. Beneath it, a grainy picture of Daniel, Maya, and Caleb at the park, the boy's wheelchair visible, Maya crouched beside him, Daniel standing just behind. Other headlines followed: blogs, forums, comment sections flooded with speculation, judgment, cruelty. Who is she? Why her? Must be after his money. That poor kid doesn't need more media attention. He's rich. He should have found someone in his league. Maya's phone buzzed endlessly. Messages from old co-workers, neighbors, some kind, most not. At first, she ignored them. But then the emails came to the preschool. Then the reporters lingered outside her building. She watched from behind her curtains as cameras clicked every time she left for work. She read comments calling her a social climber, a fake, a distraction. And worst of all, she saw Caleb's name dragged into it. She knew what that kind of spotlight could do to a child, what that kind of noise could steal from a quiet, healing life. So she did the only thing she could think of to protect them. She disappeared. No messages, no calls. She deactivated her account, blocked the number. And Daniel, confused and frustrated, watched each message he sent turn blue, but remain unanswered. Caleb grew quiet. The spark in his eyes dimmed. He wheeled around the house, slower, ate less. One evening, curled up on the couch beside his father, Caleb asked softly, "Daddy, did I do something wrong? Did she leave because of me?" Daniel felt something crack inside. "Nobody," he whispered, pulling him close. "Not you. Never you." That night, he made a decision. The next morning, Daniel buckled Caleb into the car, packed a small bag with Caleb's favorite sketchbook, and drove straight to Maya's neighborhood. She did not answer his calls, but she could not unbolt her door fast enough when she saw Caleb waiting outside it, legs dangling from his wheelchair, a sunflower tucked into his lap. Daniel stood beside him, eyes tired but resolute. "Maya," he said as soon as she opened the door, "I don't care what the world sees. I care that you saw us when no one else did." Maya stood frozen in the doorway, her eyes, rimmed with exhaustion, welled with tears. "I just wanted to protect you," she whispered. "Both of you. I thought maybe if I left quietly, the noise would die down." "But it didn't," Daniel said, his voice breaking. "It only got louder without you." Caleb looked up at her, silent, holding out the flower. "You didn't do anything wrong," Maya said to him, dropping to her knees. "You are everything right." She took his hand, small and warm and trusting. The tears finally spilled. "I didn't leave because I stopped caring," she said. "I left because I cared too much. I was afraid that my love was too small to shield you from the world." Caleb reached up and touched her cheek. "I miss you." She gathered him into a hug, and he melted into her arms. Daniel stood over them, heart full and aching. Then he knelt down too. "Let them talk," he said, turning toward Maya. "Let them write, let them scream. I've faced worse. But I've never faced anything that scared me as much as losing you." Her eyes searched his. "What if it never stops?" "Then let it not stop. But we'll face it together." Maya looked down at Caleb, who was now looking between the two of them, his eyes wide with hope. She wrapped her arms around them both, and for the first time in weeks, silence felt safe again. Not the silence of fear, the silence of something whole, something real. Daniel did not hire lawyers. He did not call a press conference. He did not shout back at the world. Instead, one quiet Sunday morning, he opened his phone and posted a photo on his long-dormant social media account. It was a candid picture, nothing staged, just Caleb in his wheelchair, laughing with a cookie in his hand, and Maya beside him, her head thrown back in laughter, one hand resting gently on the boy's shoulder. Daniel stood behind them, his hand on both of theirs. His caption was simple: "This is my family. Not perfect, but perfect for me." She did not walk into my life to be seen. She walked in and saw us, me and my son, when we were invisible. Her name is Maya, and she brought light back into our world. Within hours, the post went viral. Thousands of comments poured in. This is the kind of love story we need more of. Not all heroes wear capes, some wear cardigans and carry daisies. Bless you, Caleb, and bless the people who see you the way you deserve. The backlash died down, the noise faded. Love, it turned out, was louder. 1 year later, the sky was blue, painted with soft clouds drifting lazily above a new building nestled at the edge of town. A cheerful banner waved in the breeze. Grand opening, Sunflower Steps, a center for pediatric rehabilitation and joy. Inside, the halls smelled of fresh paint and hope. Walls were decorated with children's artwork, each room named after a flower. A therapy room called Daisy's Dream, a music room called Rocket Rhythms. Maya stood near the podium in a soft yellow dress, her hair gently curled. Beside her, Daniel adjusted the microphone. The crowd, doctors, parents, children, volunteers, grew quiet as Caleb rolled up to the front, a brace on each leg. With gentle guidance, he stood, wobbled once, then took 2 small, determined steps to the microphone. The audience held its breath. Caleb smiled. "Mommy gave me love," he said, voice clear. "But Miss Maya gave me flight." On his adept, this imagination. Mommy made... There was silence, then applause, then tears. Maya's hand trembled in Daniel's. Cameras clicked, but this time it was celebration, not spectacle. As the crowd began to mingle, Daniel turned to Maya, pulling her gently toward the center courtyard. The sunlight poured through the arched windows, casting golden shapes on the tiled floor. He dropped to one knee, not with flourish, not with fanfare, but with feeling. From his pocket, he pulled out something small, a silver ring, simple, timeless. "You brought a flower that day," he said, voice thick with emotion. "But you gave us a garden. You gave me a reason to smile again. You gave Caleb a second childhood. And you gave yourself to us. Completely. Selflessly." Maya's eyes filled, but she did not look away. Daniel reached for her hand. "So, will you let us keep growing this garden together?" She laughed through her tears. "Only if I get to plant the tomatoes." Caleb cheered.